Welcome, my friend, welcome. Sit down, have a cup of tea. Welcome to the guild. What, sorry, you don't have time to sit down? What? You're going already? Huh? What? So, I wanted to address some drama that's been going on in my new Fire Kingdom guild in Orna, which is a new guild that was made, EasyModeLodge. And how the game works is you need at least 6 members to start wars and to start gauntlets. And what they basically boil down to is they allow you to open up raids and do raid bosses and get better gear and all that kind of thing. And that's fine. We have a small active guild. And the problem that I've been running into is I've noticed that I'd get a new player and I'd say hi or whatever, and how's it going? Welcome to the guild. And then about 10 hours later, they would leave for literally no reason, except that we haven't made that minimum 6-player requirement. They come and think, they don't have the six members, blah blah, and they leave, even though they've been greeted by the guild leader and the rest of it. And then that's like, okay, whatever. And then the following day, someone else will join, and it'll be the same things like, hi, how are you doing? And then 10 hours later, they're gone. And this has actually happened enough times. I wanted to address it because, if these new players just stayed in the guild, we would already have unlocked gauntlets and wars anyway. We have more than enough gold to activate them. We just need players to stay. So, it's a little bit ridiculous for a player to come into a new guild and within 10 hours or less expecting the entire guild to be filled out. And if it's not, that they leave and they bounce somewhere else. It's just completely crazy to me that people would actually think like that. And the funny thing is, when you join, you can see how many members are in the guild anyway. So you know that we don't have the 6 members. That's a new guild. You know that just by when you join. And likewise, I've joined, one of the main reasons I created the guild in the first place is I've joined other fire guilds, other earth guilds, just different guilds on my different alts and things. And the problem you run into is, they could have 20 members, they could have 10 members, the minimum requirement. But you could have lots of bad situations that arise. So one of them that I came up across was I came with a guild that had the minimum required players, except that half the players or more were just alts of the main leader, and the whole guild was inactive for months or more. And then another situation you run into is you might have a guild with a leader and then a buddy or a friend who was the officer. And they just spam out the raids, but they can't win kingdoms because their guild is inactive, and they only spam out raids for themselves, and they insta-kill all the bosses. Or you just run into a guild that looks promising, but it's actually dead. So I've ran into a lot of different kinds of guilds. I've had a lot of bad experiences with guilds. So I said, I'm going to make a decent quality guild on my main account, which is a fire account. So I have a fire guild, EasyModeLodge, and give people a good experience. And it's just kind of funny to me to imagine these other players coming in and out, and then they'll ultimately bounce more than likely to a far worse guild than my own, because the amount of guilds that are not built for players, they're built for the guild leader and his friends. You know what I mean? This is a community I'm trying to build for just people who genuinely enjoy the game or want to hang out. And I think it's actually a moderate level activity. So I noticed the casual guilds are basically just dead guilds. The high activity ones are maybe for really hardcore players. I think you'd get bored, to be honest, because I think you need to take breaks from the game. So I think moderate guild is probably the sweet spot. And I just think I needed to address this really, because if it was just one person, I was like, yeah, not a big deal. But when it's happening over and over, for a week, and every couple of days it's the same kind of story. Yeah, I just felt it needed to be addressed. It's kind of a weird thing. Maybe someone coming in doesn't see it, but I see it in the backlogs. I got this long list of logs. The logs were even longer because I actually refreshed the game. I went out the Orna app and restarted it, but there's actually a much longer log than I have in the picture. Yeah, so if you're joining a new Orna guild, just give it a week. Don't give it 10 hours. Maybe give it 10 days before, for other players to come in and join in. Because you have to remember that Orna is a small community. And I think the game has 1 million downloads, but I suspect the player base is probably more somewhere between 100,000 and 50,000, active. And if you split it across 4 different guilds, then you're talking about having maybe 10,000 per faction and then how many of them are going to be high level compared to low level players, and so on. And even my own kingdom has a level restriction of level 50, because I noticed that under level 50, you can get someone who might be very excited to play and excited to join, like, let's be number one. But like once they reach like level 40 or around level 50, they quit. So I'm only really looking for players who are active. I think if you play to level 50, you're more than likely to stay active beyond that point. But what I'm saying is that the community is probably a lot smaller than it looks. And then you have to split it by 4 because of the 4 different kingdoms that are in the game. You can't, a fire player cannot join an earth kingdom and so on. So then it splits the community by 4. And so a lot of the players that join, they're probably coming from dead guilds, or they're just starting out the game. Like, it's obviously going to take a lot longer to fill a guild because there's a smaller player base. But if a guild is good, if a kingdom is good, people are going to arrive. I just think that if you should really give a guild a bit more time, a bit more of a chance to get established, because it's just crazy. Like, we would have already be like, I'd have raids active right now. All the players that joined just actually stayed for more than a couple of hours. I'd have more than enough players for us to kick it all off. So obviously, I have a lot of respect for the players that do stay and do hang on and do actually want to be part of the guild. And I'm not too sad really when someone leaves. Like, they're not really part of my guild anymore, so I don't really care. But it's their own decision. But it's just the fact that if it's not just an individual behavior, it seems like a cross behavior. It's like a regional thing. Like, everyone seems to be behaving in a similar way, so it's almost like a human player pattern. So I wanted to address it and highlight it. Like, maybe it's like, I don't know, you go in, it's like, have you ever joined a game of, I don't know, Age of Empires, and you're in the lobby and you need like 4 players to fill the lobby, and you sit there and it's 1 player, then it's 2 player, then it's 3, or it's getting close to 3, and then maybe you're sitting there for a while, and then the 4th member is going to come in, but the 3rd player leaves, and then 30 seconds later, the 4th player comes in, but now he's player 3 because player 3 left. Like these kind of situations where people just kind of hot seat around and are never happy with where they go. And the funny thing is, a lot of these players, they even send very enthusiastic messages in the chat saying like, let's go to number 1, let's be the best, and this kind of thing. I used to actually delete those messages after the person left the kingdom, because I didn't like the bad impression it would give, actually, that like all these usernames coming in saying hi, but then you check the guild list and they're not there. I went back and deleted quite a few of them because it was too much of it. It was kind of like almost like spam in that regard. But I don't think it will anymore. I think what I'll just say is like, RIP, RIP, and then the player, because like, it's just silly what they're doing, to be honest. So yeah, if you are intending to join a kingdom, I would say, given the size of the kingdom, it doesn't matter if it's my kingdom or an Earth kingdom or a Storm kingdom or whatever. Like, if you're planning to join a kingdom, my general advice probably to a new player would be to give it about 10 days. And if a new player comes in within that period, good to go. And realistically speaking, if the guild leader is saying hi to you and other members of the guild are communicating and talking among themselves and talking to you, 100% stay in that guild. Because that's another thing I forgot to mention. There's plenty of kingdoms out there. Yeah, they have the members and they run the guilds. Run the raids every so often, but they don't talk. So like, you can't, like, you send a request saying please run this raid and no one responds, and they just go about doing the normal thing they always do. So having a guild with active members actually talk among themselves. The second you're in one of those, you've already got the best guild in the game. Doesn't matter whose guild it is. If you have an active player base, you're already in the best guild. So like, just give it a chance, because I'd say there's a 90% chance that from leaving this guild to another, where the leader says hi and things are going well, there's a 90% chance that when you leave, that you're going to go to worse.